prolific and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised.
Billions of people just living out their lives, oblivious.
Choice is an illusion created between those with power and those without.
I drink your milkshake. I drink it up.
Thank you, John Larson. I receive your kind words on behalf of all of our courageous members of the House of Representatives who want the best for the American people. And what we can do that is best for them in the next 24 hours is to pass affordable, accessible health care for all Americans. The best for all Americans is to have 32 million more people to have health insurance in our country. The best for...
Piece of stinking filth.
Shh, say it again, Shal. This is AJ of the InfoWars. Listen to the Shaliak. This is Alex Jones of InfoWars. Listen to Shaliak on the Cold Reality News and Report.
This is the coolest thing I have ever seen.
Well, hello there.
All right, welcome to Cold Reality Radio today. Here on the UCY.TV Broadcasting Network. I will be having a conversation and catching up with Patrick Jordan from vaccinefraud.com. You can also see his YouTube videos. He has close to 40 YouTube videos under the same title over there, Vaccine Fraud, all one word, Vaccine Fraud. And just waiting for him to call in. And we're going to get busy talking about what is most important on his radar, his worldly radar, and his world view. You've heard Patrick on here before. He's I've had conversations with him, and Clint has. When Clint has hosted, he's had Patrick on probably 2 or 3 times in the last year. So it's always a fascinating conversation with Patrick, and his work is so very important to all of us. And so it's going to be a great show today. It is Cold Reality Radio here on the UCY.TV Broadcasting Network. It's 10:03 on the East Coast of Night America. Got the scaled down setup today. Got Jules. Good morning, Jules. Thanks for everything that you do. And JJ, thanks for everything that you've done and you're doing and will do. Just a great group of people. Some of God's greatest creations that I've been blessed enough to come in contact with. So it's very interesting. We're going to be talking about medical-related topics today. I might have to take a quick break to find out. Patrick was supposed to give me a call about, say, 10 minutes ago just to do a quick sound check, but I have not heard from him. So whenever that happens, when I kind of worry about the people that I know that are involved in the information that that we're all pretty much involved in. That maybe somebody got to people, somebody, our brethren. So, absolute chaos, as you can imagine, with our culturally bankrupt society. My father used to speak to me about morality, and I'm like, what the fuck is that mean? What's a moral? And he said, exactly. Chuck Berry dead at 90. His daughter, a Hollywood actress, said they can only imagine that he is part of that inner core bloodline where he would get an opportunity to be in the musical arena. Born in 1926 and really kind of made it 90 years. Everybody knows who he is. And it's, it's not a bad thing. But again, a lot of people that have experienced black and white, obviously mostly white, the levels of stardom or celebrity that they achieve is usually related to the their level of family connections. We know that through Clint's research that he has uncovered Barack Obama being part of the bloodline. And okay, we got a message from let's see. I've been calling since 8:50. Distinct ring, no answer. To a click, more ring than a fast busy. So Jules, if you can hear this, can you call Patrick into the conversation? Okay, I know he's all right, gonna send this out to him there so he gets that. I'm not seeing it. I called from my phone to the UCY number and it kind of came through there. So yeah, Jules, if you can hear this, can you call Patrick into the conversation? Let's see, just corrected the phone number. Okay. All right. So, let's see. All right. So, let's see if Jules was aware that there might be some issues going on. So yeah, so we'll hopefully within a few minutes, within 5 minutes or so, we'll get Patrick on, and we'll have a good hour 45 minutes to chat with Patrick. Who, right? Exactly. Yeah. I mean, Skype is just a nightmare. St. Patrick, how did you get him? Well, I don't understand this whole St. Patrick's Day thing, even though my brother was born on St. Patrick's Day, and then years and years later, I found out that people actually celebrated St. Patrick's Day. So that's it just blew me away. I was like, what are these people doing? Why are they drinking so heavily? Mostly because it's just an excuse to drink. But of course, the Irish, the potato famine, and then things, then they moved over here because there was no potatoes there. Who caused the potato famine? If anybody has any information on the potato famine, I'm sure Patrick will have a lot of, or should have information. If he doesn't, that's no big deal. But it'd be nice to, because I think that somebody wanted to wipe them out or something. So they just fucked up their potato supply or something like that, knowing that that's what they. I'm back. I'm back in. All righty. Let's see. Okay. Jules is working on it right now. And we should have Patrick within the next 2 minutes here. And so anyway, absolute chaos. The repeal of Obamacare that is obviously not a repeal. The agenda, very, very important that the core values to the system stay in place. I don't care because I'm not going to deal with it. I just don't want to be penalized for not participating in it. It's hard for people to believe that they just don't give a fuck about you or your health. Okay? If they really cared about your health, you'd have the kind of health plan that the Senate has and that the and the Congress have, and you'd be, the number one priority. Something happens to Nancy Pelosi, you can bet your ass she's moving towards, getting the proper care, and that's why I have no faith in, I have very little faith in Donald Trump, because there's no way that he can go against, the world order. How is he going to, this is exactly like, this is the Hitler scenario, where you have a decimated system. Hitler comes in and he's, going to do this and he's going to do that, and he revitalizes, nationalizes, and then the world attacks and kills everybody. So, of course, then, Donald Trump is Hitler, and there's your scenario right there. There's your wash, rinse, repeat that we've heard so many times. Skype is just garbage anymore. Of course, probably goes right to Tel Aviv anyway. All the information, all of the data heads right over there. All right. Hoping to rectify the situation. Conference him in. There's no call from me. after I dial. Right. Oh, man. I can't. Well, I can't call.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, Patrick. Good morning. Jules, thanks so much. All right. Yeah, it was weird because I called in this morning. I called the number that I gave you yesterday, Patrick, and I didn't hear it on my laptop, mostly because a lot of the notifications I have on here, it's kind of scaled down because I don't want that to come through in the broadcast. And welcome. It's been, Jules said ever since the Skype upgrade, it's just been crazy.
That's all I need to know. Upgrade. It's opposite day, man. Upgrade.
It is opposite day. It's a downgrade. It's a downgrade. Okay. So welcome. We got you. 10:17. We have Patrick Jordan live. Patrick, of course, vaccinefraud.com. And he's also become quite the YouTube video producer because he now has 39 videos up there. I this morning I was listening to the your Bible production, which was very comical. You've got quite the. I mean, you've gone from just in the beginning with a few little pictures, a few little stick figures, and of course all your knowledgeable information. And now you've got all kinds of video, sound effects, and everything. What's going on, man? Have you found another expertise?
I found buttons to push, man. I got see this is the beautiful part, Shali. I've got a 16-year-old computer with 16-year-old programs on there, and
okay.
I've never used them before. And I'm the kind of guy that likes to explore. I've been in the rainforest. I've been through the jungle. I used to climb rock faces and go kayaking and jump out of airplanes. And it's like, hey, I wonder what this does, man. So I'm just pushing buttons, and it's like, this is fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we really do need to give a warning. Some of my stuff, especially the Bible stuff, it's not for children. And I mean that
right.
across all platforms, whether, you're 80 years old and you don't have a sense of humor, don't be listening to it, man, because it's pretty harsh.
Yeah, it's going to attack your very belief structure, and it's going to just destabilize you. But I mean, that's what has to happen, right? You have to have a breakdown, as Clint says, before you can, right?
Yeah. That because we're going to probably be talking a lot about Mr. Clint Richardson because he's like formative in our collective what we do. And one of the important things he said was a guest that he had on said, hey, go ahead and have a breakdown, man, because it's the prolongation that makes things bad.
Exactly. Exactly. And please don't worry about the content of your video because Google lets anti-Semitic videos stay on YouTube. So apparently Google is anti-Semitic. So that is the height of the worst thing that you can be and or do. So don't even worry about your videos.
Well, see, and I don't even qualify because
Right.
just like the word Jew with a J, there was no J until around 1600 AD. So it's a fiction, it's an invention. There are no Semites, so you can't be anti-Semitic because they're from the clan of Shem. And so if you were to pronounce it properly, and this is something that I teach, we could talk about this, is they would have to be called Shemites. So I could not ever be an anti-Semite because they don't exist.
Right. And then Shem, when I hear Shem, I automatically think of Shemp from the Three Stooges, and all three of those guys were Jews. So there's some kind of connection there. I don't know.
See, it's like either the Three Stooges or my three sons. So what we got, and you know, if you look at Fomenko, if you look at Velikovsky, these guys are saying, yes, we're not quite sure, but there was a planetary, and well, you know, if you're flat Earth, there is no planet. There was a global, well, we can't say that either. Okay, there was like a worldwide cataclysm.
Yes.
And after that cataclysm, these three clans literally came down from the mountains, kicked ass, gave names. They didn't take names. They gave place names.
Right. Flattering titles, probably.
Family names, and they took over.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's like my three stooges or my three sons, all these themes repeat. And then if you look at like the ancient Mesopotamian god structures, they were always in trinities, Anu, Ba, and Ea. And then, you know, you got your Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. You know, it's like all these patterns. Because, see, that's what I do, Shali. All I do is pattern recognition. All these patterns, like, jump out at you, and they hit you in the head, and it's like, how come nobody ever noticed this before?
Right. Yeah. Well, you got your trends, right? There's that gentleman, Gerald Celente, who does trends research, which is just patterns, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just pattern, you know, things that, like you're saying, but in just, obviously, just in another, for economic reasons anyway for him. But
well, hey, let's look at that. You know, who controls economics on this planet? Well, it would have to be the planetary military that came down, kicked ass, and didn't take names. You know, so it's like,
so
it's all related. You know, you can take, and this is what I talk about when I speak about continuum. You can take any point on the circle, and you can come, and it might take a while, you can come full circle to where you started, and you will, like, approach every other single topic that there is in life to talk about. And that they're all, like, intimately related.
Absolutely. So, let me see, what was I? All right, so I get your emails all the time, and I with the time, a little bit of time that I have, I peruse them and I see what the topics are. At some point, Jules was going to reach out to you to talk about plasmids. So hopefully we'll be able to cover some of that today. And I see that the website, that Vaccine Fraud, has a new look. It has kind of a different kind of setup there, which is good. Every now and then we got to change things around. But the hardest thing that people have to deal with, and I talk about this, I bring these things up. Now, I guess maybe I did it the right way. Maybe I moved in a kind of a strategic or a strategery, if you will. And you can quickly become the black sheep because a lot of information about the true nature of this of our fake reality is very, very disturbing. Let's face it, it's disturbing. I mean, the things that I know, the things that you know, for God's sake, from the research that you've done, from the front page of vaccinefraud.com 127 years ago, Edgar March Cruikshank had his career ruined after he published the history of pathology of vaccination in 1889. So you've done an incredible amount of research, and you go back, and again, the hardest thing for people to understand, the hardest thing for people to be able to grasp about this, where we are and what we're doing, is that we've been under attack by a militarized attack and it sounds like a movie already. Oh, it's a militarized attack, and everybody kind of moves in that direction because from the superhero movies to look at what was that one? The Captain America. They had one called the Winter Soldier,
right?
Where they took his. I don't know if you saw it, Patrick. Did you see it?
Nope, but I've heard about it.
Okay, so Robbie Redford, another member of the Bloodline, all right, is kind of like the head guy in this particular episode with regards to like the intelligence agencies, and what their plan is that they're going to create these they create these huge ships that they're like like the ships that you'll see where they land the militarized jets on the ocean there, but they fly through the air, and the goal is to wipe out by spraying or doing something in the air, by dropping some kind of biological weapon on the people, to wipe out huge portions of society, saying that they have to tear society down to allow it to move forward, right? So in this whole series, and I've seen quite a bit of them, where they have a thing. It's called it's like an underground, like Illuminati type thing, but it's like I forget what it is. If somebody wants to type in the chat room, but I'm sure a lot of the people over there have seen it. But they have this. It's called Hail something. Every single one of them, they're part of. Not every one of them, but certain people, they're part of this thing. Hydra. It's called Hydra, and they're like Hail Hydra, and they kind of make it a Nazi thing, just like this television show on The Strain. It's been on for like two or three years now, and it's based around this Jewish guy who was in an internment camp. Okay. And he was, and the main Nazi that was controlling the camp that he was in is now this blood-sucking vampire who paves the way. He's like Renfield for this beast vampire that's like basically like taken over, and they've got all these. They call them Strigoi. I don't know if that means anything to you, but we make jokes about it all the time. But there's always this Nazi theme that's brought into it. So Hail Hydra, and they're gonna lift these things up, and they know that they're gonna just start wiping out a lot of people. So obviously Captain America and his buddies, they try to stop them, and they kind of do. But we have these organizations that exist alongside of the CIA or whatever in this particular fantasy movie, this Captain America movie. But their goal is to wipe out a group of people, a militarized attack, and I guess they were going to handle it, or they didn't talk about the post rollout after they were to wipe out all these people. Of course, that the superheroes stopped them. But they still continue, and they still do what even after that, they're like, we're going to move forward, and we're going to just fuck everybody up at some point. And if it wasn't for those damn meddling kids, in the Justice League, we would have, gotten our plan through. So the hardest thing for people to understand is that this militarized attack, which in a movie it's totally understandable, but in real life, Patrick, there's no way these things could be happening. There's no way that over time they've created ways to turn on and off molecular switches with vaccines and things like that.
And see, the dichotomy is this. People think compartmentally, and this is how they hide. I read an Army field manual that back, like, around the days of World War II, they would actually have spotters that were colorblind because you could see the contrast difference of somebody that was camouflaged, that was a sniper, whereas if you had full color vision, you would see like the camouflage of the sniper blend in with the surroundings, and you might not be able to pick them out. And so this compartmentalization that they've taught everybody to think in is, well, there are standing armies and they have legal wars. Well, war is a crime, so there is no such thing as illegal or just war. The lies just mount up on each other. But then that's what people think. They think the delineation between war and peace, which Clint has like completely annihilated. Peace is just a function where commerce continues during a state of war. So, more lies. And, it's like us against them, and it's our boys, and they put on a uniform, and the other guys, they kind of like, they wear street clothes and walk around with suitcase bombs.
Right.
So, the lines are starting to blur, but war has always been us against them, force against force. And, you would see the troops marching out against the evildoers. Well, when you understand one thing, you only have to get this one thing in your head, that the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control, is a military. It's a uniformed military agency with a surgeon general. This is a military rank, and the
Surgeon
CDC
General, exactly,
administers all vaccines. Vaccines are made in biohazard, at least level 2 up to level 3, sometimes level 4 conditions. Biohazard level 3 conditions, that's what you would make a biological weapon in. And, sorry about that. Let me get rid
No
of
worries.
that.
We're talking with Patrick Jordan from vaccinefraud.com today on UCY.
So, let's examine what they call vaccines. They're not called medicines. They're called biologicals. So you got a biological being made under the conditions of a biological warfare agent by a uniformed military construct. And if you get that single thing inside your head, then you go, oh my God, you don't need a standing army. The motherfuckers are surrounding us.
Right. Now, see, we're at a point there. Now, I understand that this is going on for whatever reason, for whatever, and then some will say, well, you're just, some people would say, people would listen to this conversation and say, you're just, that's because if they had to admit it to themselves or they had to do the research, they would uncover something, or not really uncover something, but they would have to open their mind to a reality that is so very uncomfortable. I'm not comfortable with it. You're not comfortable with it, but things, you've been affected by it. Your mother was affected by it. The serum sickness, you found out initially, and then you just kind of put the pieces together. But of course, we're just labeled, Now, I can get these things out. I can say these things, but because people have, understand one aspect of polio, they understand oh, God, the polio vaccine, God, that was just revolutionary. No, they don't know all the details behind it. They don't know all the details and information that you and Clint, hours and hours and hours of breaking down Sabin and Salk and all the bullshit that the that the commoners have been fed about that, and it's an absolute lie, but people hold it as like this point in time where medicine was revolutionized and we cured polio, and God, we're just the most awesome thing that's ever been.
Yay us.
Yeah, yay us. Yay, and it's not the case. It's not true. It's not true.
And so,
but nobody wants to go there. Nobody wants to visit it. Nobody wants to visit it. You know,
because it's hysterical blindness.
Yeah.
And what it is, you hit it completely, Shali. What it is if people said what we say, because see, here's the difference. I didn't say if they saw what we see. They see it, but they are so traumatized by it that they choose. Now, this is a choice, and this puts them in the realm of evil. If it was beyond their volition, then they would be victims of an event. But they choose not to acknowledge. I didn't say they didn't see it. You would have to be dead, and I don't mean in the Clint Richardson legal dead. You would have to be physically a moldering corpse to not see what we see. I give nobody quarter on this. It's that they choose not to acknowledge it, and they do that because if they did, they would have that breakdown that we just opened the show with. And they're terrified of that reality seeping in, having them break down, and becoming somebody like me. I have dedicated my life since 2008 to do nothing but destroy this system, and it has impoverished me. I work 17 hours a day, 7 days a week, and because you were getting close to tax time, I ran my numbers, Shali. All of my money goes to the man to fight the man.
Right.
Who that? And it's Cypher from the Matrix. It's like, just plug me in and let me think this tastes like a steak.
Absolutely. You know what? And as I'm thinking, as you were just saying what you were saying, I'm thinking to myself: is ignorance a choice, or was it programmed into us? I mean.
Well, see, let's look at the way I view ignorance. It's a good thing Clint isn't on here because he'd have us for words. He'd have us up on charges for words. Ignorance is, in my mind, in what we would consider in the sciences. Ignorance is I don't know, and that is the starting point for science. You'd go, well, what about this newt? I don't know. Let's find out. But ignorance, like if you talk to a farm whore out here, spelled Pharmwhore, these farm whores, they go, I don't know, as if it's a badge of honor to be ignorant.
Yes.
And to be willfully ignorant. I created in one of my books like a Cartesian line, like a number line with zero in the middle, negative integers to the left and positive integers to the right. That balance point is ignorance. If you just go one tick to the left of willful ignorance, you have just entered evil, because that's the choice. Ignorance is a state that you can correct. And if you go, oh, I don't know, let me find out. Oh, yeah, 9/11 was an inside job. Then you've just gone in positive integers.
True.
And who wants to face that? I've been watching your buddy AJ's change, and for the most part, I think it's very well done video. And in one section, there's like these 9/11 people with T-shirts, and they're marching down the street, and they're accosted by a woman saying, "You're dishonoring the dead." And the retort was, "No, we're trying to honor the people that were killed." And so she is in hysterical blindness. Because if she even confronted what these people had the bravery to face, that this was an inside job, then her whole world would change overnight. And then, this is what I call the bifurcation in the road. It's where you're on a straight path, and all of a sudden the road forks in two directions, and you look down one, and it looks pretty easy. But, if you read, Bible and religious literature, the road to hell is a very smooth path. The other one is full of brambles and the road is broken, and I've got like the twisted ankles and lesions on my skin to prove it. It's a tough road. Who the hell in their right mind would choose to go down there? But that's the one.
Well, of course, then some would say, and the thing is that I've been, I guess I want to say I've been victim of it, but I think that people like me enough to say, that's just ridiculous. You're crazy, but you make me laugh. You know what I mean? They'll be like, well, you make me laugh. You entertain me. So that's one thing. Oh, that's just highly ridiculous. And I said, don't ever get a vaccine. Don't ever let anyone stick or inject anything in you.
You know what
I said,
I
because it's completely unnecessary. And if they're doing it, then they have no idea how much damage they're doing to you.
See, Shali, I've been at this so long, and I've been around the great unwashed so long, and we can talk about the biological principles of how I arrived at this. Those that hear us and get it the first time, that's my only audience. I have no intention to make people awake and aware. I have no intention to hold anybody's hand and bring them up with like the small facts and then tell them about the prion agenda. My God, that book alone, that's why I charge like $100 for that book. If you are serious, you will get that book. If you are serious, you will get like the grandest conspiracy in the history of this entire whatever existence we're in. It's that big, it's that scary. And, people actually are appreciative of the humor that I mix into things because we've got two options. This is so dark. I literally stare into the abyss every day. It is so dark that you either have to cry or you need to laugh just to break it up. And I found that the devil don't like to be laughed at.
Yeah.
So I'm laughing my ass off, man. And so there's a difference between directing the humor outwards to actually embarrass those that are supposedly in power and abusing us, and then those that you cite that might listen to what we're talking about and laugh at us. Oh, you guys are so funny. Well, you know what that is? That's whistling in the graveyard. They're so fucking scared that they go, oh, I'm going to laugh at that because, if I really, spent time and looked into it myself and understood the scope of it, and that's why I bring in the prion agenda, the scope of it, my God, and it's what you said, Shali, if people knew what we knew, they'd be going, give me the fucking straitjacket, I'll tie it on with my teeth.
Yeah, and I think about, when I've done my share of this like getting high, smoking in the past, and I always had a propensity to become very paranoid.
That's a clinically recognized sign of certain strains of marijuana.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so it's up and down and stuff, and then. So, but I don't do so much of it anymore. I've been taking some of the CBD, drops or pills and stuff like that. But so I guess what I'm saying is I'll get to a point where I am altered. I am what we consider I'm high, man. I'm high, right? And then I'll start the things that I know will be. The level of the things that I know, it will be amplified.
Right.
And it truly makes me, just want to, just like soil myself. So I try to stay away from that, you know what I'm saying? Because it really does, it really does kind of amplify what, and then of course at the same time, trying to, these people, when I say these things, and I say the polio vaccine injected people with the cancer virus, and it was responsible for, and it's sexually transmittable.
Right.
And they're just like, what? Like, like, Shali, what are you smoking or whatever? And it's like, you see it there. Like, I take it from my standpoint of like what I know. And then if I, kind of, take a puff here and there at different times, I'm like, I don't want to be this high anymore. I just want to come down to the point where I get hungry and then I eat something. And I'm like, this tastes so good. You know what I mean? But, you get it. I understand that people don't want to go there. And then I say to myself, is it my right to do this to people? Like people that I meet initially that kind of give me shit or kind of label me. I'm like, I want you to know the nightmare. I want you to know the nightmare. And then I get to the point where I'm like, I like these people now. I see that they do have value. It's just that they're just thumb suckers. So it's like, what right do I have to really kind of implement or, get this or push this absolute nightmare? And that's what it is. It's an absolute nightmare of the most defined evil that you can ever, I mean, just, and I don't even know what these people are or what makes them tick, but the last thing that I want to do if I look at a newborn baby, right? Or you'll see like, I'll be out places, right? I'll be having a bite to eat, maybe having some coffee or whatever. And I'll see like a beautiful little girl, right? Just like running around. I saw a few last night at the Mexican restaurant. And I just think the last thing that I would ever want to do is, like how can someone want to inject death into, another human being? I mean, life can on this planet or plane, whatever you want to believe, and I'll entertain the whole flat Earth stuff all day long, because I know we've been lied to about everything. See, that's the thing that you need. That if you understand that we've been lied to about everything,
right? Flat
Earth's not that far of a jump. Okay.
Oh, I like. Hey, see, that's a meme. Flat Earth is not far of a jump.
Okay, it's not that far of a jump if you realize that we are being chemically militarized attack, biological weapons being sprayed above in the skies all day long. I still have a guy that I work with that walks up, knows it knows that chemtrails exist or something's obviously in the sky.
Right.
But he still has a problem understanding that he's being sprayed like a bug, much like you would spray ants that you no longer want in your home.
Right. See, you got it in one, man.
Okay. We're being sprayed like we would spray a bug or an ant or something. Now, we had an ant issue. I bought the little traps, the little flappy traps. And I don't know if that's what they're called, but, and then I'm thinking, well, this isn't working. They're not even going in, right? I would see them. They wouldn't even go in the hole to, go get the ant killing biological weapon that's in there. And then eventually they did just disappear. And it's like, Christ, that's what they're fucking doing to us. That's what they're doing to us.
Without a doubt. Now let's examine this biologically, because that has always been my focus. Let's just take ants. This will be instructive. Any vermin, any pest will arrive because there's a food source. So if you got the little tiny brown ones that are crawling all over your stove, those are called grease ants. Why are they called grease ants? Because they eat grease. If you got rid of the grease, you would get rid of the ants. So then you got other ants, and I think they're kind of like reddish brown, and they're an intermediate size. Those are sugar ants. You get rid of the sugar, you get rid of the ants. And then you got like the really big black ones. Those are like carpenter ants, and they'll eat your wood, so you literally have to burn your house down. Well, good God, isn't that what's fun? They're literally destroying our life support system here. and they're poisoning our food. Why? Because
The ants,
vermin.
This particular type of ant, you're saying?
No. The controllers, the Illuminati, the international Jewish conspiracy, whatever you want to put on it. I reorganize it. I recodify it, as they, and we can talk about that soon. The controllers view us as vermin that need to be exterminated from the planet. And so they're spraying the skies. Well, that's a military operation.
Sure.
And that's why I said, people think compartmentally. Oh, no, that's a commercial aircraft and those are contrails. Really? Because I was a kid in the fucking 1960s and I know what a contrail is.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing. We got to define this, Shali.
Well, you see them. I mean, I still see them. They're little white dashes that go across the sky. They're little white dashes. And then when the ice melts, it disappears. That's why it's a dash. Yeah. It's not a long line. It's a dash.
And that's why you get rid of old people, and especially old people that have a memory, because memory is a survival trait. And what have they destroyed in people? I was talking to a shopkeeper, and he said college kids come through his shop all the time, and this is how old this story is, if they didn't have their BlackBerry, they wouldn't know what they were doing that day. They have no memory. It's all outboard. It's all digital. It's all independent of them. People aren't alive today, Shali.
No, it's we've already been. What do they call that? What did the Borg call it? We've already been,
cybernetic organisms. Yeah.
What would they say? It's the resistance is futile. You've already been simulated, absorbed by technology, and we have. I mean, we totally have.
Okay, so let's go there. Let's go to the Jordanization of all this, because what I do is meta-analysis, which means you take all the data possible, you throw it on the floor like you're doing an episode of A Beautiful Mind, and you look for the patterns. And the patterns are this: that those that we are told are the enemy are simply carriers of an infection. Just like Typhoid Mary would go around from family to family and kill people because she carried salmonella, typhus murium. So it was the mouse strain of typhoid that she was a carrier of. She was completely immune to it, but she killed everything in her wake. She was literally a death machine.
Right.
And by the way, her mother's name was Raphael, so we can only assume that she was family. So, we have a family member that was spreading death. Well, that pattern repeats. So we look at the quote-unquote international Jewish conspiracy, a very, pat and, likely, pull out the usual suspects, a likely choice of who's running the world. Well, what are called the Jews with a J are some of the most physically ill people on the planet. Don't you think that if you were rulers of the world and you had access to all technology, that they wouldn't be physically ill? But they are. And what if they do run the banks and the political system and everything else? Well, they're still human beings. And I use that with a hyphenated form. HU was the progenitor god of Egypt, the Sphinx, the Hu. And man means the servant of a feudal lord. So man is the feudal servant of Lord Hu, this Egyptian, primal god, which means that they are servants of something. Well, what is that thing? When I started to look at all these god myths, what it boiled down to, and using Sumerian texts, the names of diseases were the names of demons. They were one in the same. And when you look at all of the mythos, all gods and demons are indistinguishable from each other because they're all schizophrenic psychopaths. So, it's like, oh, God is good because, well, he didn't fuck with us today.
Right.
And so when I do this synthesis, gods are demons. And, well, the angels that fell from heaven were angels. So, a demon, a fallen angel, was an angel. And what were angels? Angels were the military ranks. And an archangel, archangel, that's like a corporal. When you finally get to like the level of Hasatan, which they falsely attribute to Lucifer, the cherubim, that's like the generals. You got to get that high to get, that's really a top angel. So the archangels, they're like Lieutenant Dan.
Lieutenant Dan.
They're the progenitors of what evil is supposed to be.
I got you some ice cream, Lieutenant Dan.
Ice cream.
I love that. I love that.
You're looking at all these patterns emerge, and you go, okay, there has to be something underlying this. So if there were world-dominating rulers, where are their instructions coming from? And that's when I came up with the theory of perhaps there is a virus that gets into a likely host, because some people are just more susceptible to diseases than others. You get the disease into the likely host, and Clint and I won't even go there. Clint and I have done extensive shows on these zombie parasites that take over the host and make it do things that are completely antithetical to its own life.
Right,
and so
like the spider that goes up to that hangs out at the top of the plant, or just everything that it genetically that it's been programmed to do and be.
Right.
It goes against that.
Right. You got it. And so if there is a biological entity that then takes a likely host, those that have been given the blame, like the International Jewish Conspiracy, they're just typhoid Marys. They're the most likely host to be co-opted to do the aims of this critter inside. And by the way, I don't let white people off the hook. And whatever white means, because Clinton and I have done an autopsy on the word white. Because, if you pay taxes, you've just funded that planetary military. You're paying taxes to those that you claim are in control, that you claim you hate. So you're a collaborator. You're working with them. And who's to say that the white people, in quotes, don't have the bug inside of their heads? So, is it us against them, what looks like a human against human, or is it the human species, the genus, the order, the family, the class, the phyla, that is against a life form that is so ubiquitous and so powerful that it has, and here's the part that's really going to hurt people, Shali. This life form has then puppeteered what I call the thumb puppets, because that's what sets us apart as an opposable thumb. We can manipulate the outside world. This bug then has told the human beings, hey, create an AI for me, and then I'm going to make a movie called RoboCop so that you can know where we're headed, to make a battle frame for me. Oh, wait, Arnold Schwarzenegger, he even looks better. Yeah, let's make him look like a human. Let's make a cybernetic organism that is not quite as ugly as the Borg, but still has like an indestructible frame, because you humans, you're just too damn weak, and we want to like metamorphose from just being a bug in your head to being an unstoppable machine that can run the world. And if you think that's science fiction, I can give you I have in my books, the stepwise process on how you get from point A to point B. And don't ever think that David Icke and his like shapeshifters doesn't come from nature with anything from slime mold that actually goes from a vegetative state to an animal motile state, and the butterfly that within 10 days can go from a caterpillar to a butterfly with complete genetic reorganization. That's called complete metamorphosis. All these things have biological principles at the heart of them.
Yeah. You know, what we are is so fantastical, so amazing.
A baby is a miracle.
That they don't want us to know what we are and what we can accomplish. I mean, they could, if we lived in a society or whatever that word even means, if we lived in a time where love and all of the good things were prevalent, we would. I mean, you could take a stem cell and make another. You could take a stem cell from Patrick, and you could make a set of lungs or a heart or a liver or something like that. They don't want us to know what we're capable of.
And see, the weird-ass part is when Damo, so that's the Bodhidharma that came from India to Shaolin Temple. He spent 9 years meditating in a cave, and they said, "What were you doing in there?" He goes, listening to the ants scream. He came out, and then he taught this principle of changing your bone marrow. And that's what it was called. It was brainwashing, bone marrow changing, ancient Chinese, secret method. And where do stem cells come from? Bone marrow. And so here's a guy that had no technology. And you always think, oh, well, you need, high-tech medicine and you need, vaccines or whatever to maintain health and do whatever it is that we're supposed to accomplish. And here's the guy that sat in a cave for 9 years and said, yeah, you can completely change your body.
Yeah, I was just talking to a guy that I kind of do a health seminar with. It's like once every 6 weeks or so we get together. A group of people. It's actually kind of gaining ground, and we're getting more people to kind of attend. But he spoke about this guy called Wim Hof, W-I-M, and then last name is H-O-F, and he said that he was able to change his physiology to be able to, like, he would be on ice or something, and then he would be able to do something with his body to be able to keep it from his core body temperature from dropping to a point where, everything would start shutting down. Wim Hof. I have to look that up.
Look up, it might be Tibetan monks that were put in very cold situations, and they were given simply a towel, and they did breathing techniques, and they were actually able to raise their core temperature so that the cold had no effect on them.
Right, and so this guy, Wim Hof, wrote a book about breathing.
See? Breathing.
Yeah.
And, what are they attacking? Yeah. Because let's look at it, Shali. You can go for about a month without eating, maybe a week without drinking. You can't go for more than 3 minutes without breathing. And what are they attacking? Without breathing, right. They're attacking our very air. They're attacking the very sunlight. They're attacking our air. If you take it farther,
particulates, yeah.
If you take it to the level of the breatharians, which, even NASA has been, oh, good God, I've brought those guys up. NASA has been studying.
The NASSholes.
Okay. The concept of breatharianism. If you are simply able to breathe air, drink water, sniff pollen, and look at the sun and survive, what the hell else would we be capable of? And this is why they shoot precious little babies, little miracles, with their filth. Number one, it is to spread the virus, this archonic virus, that's what I call it. It's to spread that infection that every human being has this pollution, but also that pollution then takes us down from our potential, because the miracles talked about in the ancient Chinese texts, see, I can understand them from a physics point of view, but the world was different then, and human beings were different then. So they were capable of what would be almost like the miraculous feats attributed to the thing that they call the Jesus. And of course, there was no J, so Jesus never existed. There might have been a Yahushua, but Jesus is a hypnotic trigger word. And boy, doesn't it work. The whole world just like snaps to, like they're Yahweh when they hear the word Jesus.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to do, Shali, is support what you're saying of what is the potentiality of human beings if they just left us the fuck alone. We would be the rulers of the planet, you see?
Well, I think just collectively we would be just so much more. We would just be more than we are, and which is simplistic, but without the manipulation, without the media manipulation, without the lies. When I tell people that I work with, and people that I come in contact with, I say, our history is a lie. Everything that you've been told is a manipulation or a lie to keep you just in stasis. That's it. It's just there to keep you just, right there. And then right there becomes the norm, or the circle, like David Icke says, the circle of convenience, where everybody kind of stays in that little area. And then after a while, then they start, you really don't need an outside, you don't really need an outside authoritarian system, because the people will start to police and, police themselves.
And that's one of the most damning things. Now, let's take this back into the biological realm. And I said I wasn't going to do it, but I have to, because you're bringing up these salient points. There is a particular wasp that will find a cockroach, and it will jump onto the cockroach, and it will root around with its stinger till it finds the exact spot. And I ain't shitting you. I've seen this on video. It finds the exact spot in the brain of the cockroach to inject its venom. So what it does is it paralyzes its peripheral nerves so it can't move. Damn thing is still alive. Then it inserts eggs into the cockroach. Then it buries the cockroach, and the grubs develop in this living tissue as a meal and eat their way out. But what you were talking about is these people that we keep complaining about, these Nazi collaborators, are so paralyzed, but it serves the hive. Their paralysis serves the thing that is eating them.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. And it's we think that it's simply just brainwashing, and I think there is part of that. There's something to that, but there's absolutely, like you say, evidence of biological
takeover,
control.
Yeah.
And Clint Clint wrote that on his blog about the extremophiles, brain parasites and things like that.
Yep.
And
so ever check that out, or check out the shows that we did specifically on just zombie parasites. It's there, it's real. And see, that's terrifying, because you watch National Geographic and you see the spider that weaves like a beautiful intricate web, gets parasitized, and then weaves a web that only serves the bug inside of it. Good God, that's humanity. And if people came to terms with that, I think they would literally have a breakdown. And I think, Shali, that this infection that I talk about, this controlling organism, suppresses people's ability to cognate that, because then they would be aware of the bug in their head and they would want it out. And so in a way, this viral infection that I'm talking about is instigating a mode of self-protection by preventing people from being able to not see it, because everybody sees it. I won't give anybody any latitude on that. They see what we see. It's that they are not allowed to recognize it, and they don't allow themselves. There's complicity there, because some of us, we're able to break out. Good God, man, we wouldn't even be on this radio show if we didn't have the genetic capacity to break away from this infection that is.
There's something different about us. And others would say, yeah, you're both stark raving insane, but we know we're not.
Yeah. Well, and, that's called projection in psychology. Yeah. When you project like your own problems onto somebody else, you're insane. It's like, well, no, you're just a fucking coward. Because, one of the people that I cite is Granny Annie, and, most of my little red hens, that's like my top list members that do all like the heavy research. Right. One of them is just a little grandmother. Well, actually, a couple of them are. And, big hugs out to Granny and Ms. Magoo. They're women that are in advanced years. They're not like 80 years old, but, they're older. And they're not afraid to look into the depths of hell. And then you got people like you're talking about that are mocking us or like running away from the information. And it's like, I can only say one thing. You're fucking cowards. Because I've got women that are in, older years that are digging in. It's like, hey, I want to know more.
Yeah, I mean, there's something biologically, physiologically different about some people. There are still women out there that want to be nurturers, that want to not only nurture life, but they're doing what your red hens are doing out there, because there's still some that aren't affected by it. And I think that's just with anything else, just like some people would not be affected by a virus, right? Who would have no problem, kind of brushing off a virus, whereas someone else would just get sick for a week or two with it.
Right, exactly. Yeah, or my favorite is Ebola. The whole world was going to end with Ebola, but like the kill rate was only 50%. So that means like half the population either assimilated the Ebola and it became part of them so it didn't hurt them, or they just kicked its ass.
Right. I mean, what I remember of that was there was some kind of nicotine or some kind of cigarette based thing that was going on with it. But plus at the same time, they apparently sent some group over there, some kind of militarized group or something over there, and then it all just disappeared. It all just disappeared after that. So it was
that's what
how do we get this?
Pandemics do. Yeah, they disappear on their own. Yeah.
Well, like polio was, or I mean, a lot of people, and this is my knowledge of the polio scenario, is that it was caused by some kind of antibiotic, and I don't know whether they knew that it would happen, so that then they would be able to create the polio vaccine to not only just jack people up incredibly, or to get or test their cancer virus.
Oh, wow.
But I did hear something about polio being triggered
I'm
by
going to ask you, Shali, when we're done with the show, send me what you got on the nicotine thing, because one of our little red hens, that's one of her focuses of research. That's very interesting to me. Never heard that in context with Ebola. And then send me stuff on the antibiotic thing, because there are like many different concurrent theories of the polio presentation, and they all make sense. And so when I work within continuum, I don't get denominational. I don't get compartmentalized and go, oh, well, no, it was only just the arsenic that they were using in those days that caused these neurological problems. No, it was probably antibiotics and arsenic and DDT and, and it goes on.
Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah, definitely. All right, I'm making a note of that. And I remember you saying that nicotine will kill all different, because it's a pesticide of sorts, and it will kill a lot of bugs.
Yeah.
Apparently, also like gut flora,
Ooh,
which
nice.
can cause all kinds of different, because if they say that a large percentage of your immunity, your body's immunity, is in the gut, well, let's attack the gut with, people smoking, and also with the GMOs that they say have an effect on the gut flora as well. But what's very, very interesting to me is you'll see now that there is this push by this one particular organization to get people to stop smoking.
I know why. Yeah, go ahead. I know.
All right? Because I truly believe, or at least at this, not even truly believe, my gut sense is that cigarettes will do something to protect you from what they're trying to kill you with.
It keeps it at bay.
So, yeah, it keeps something at bay. At the same time, I think that, and I mean, tobacco is grown, right?
Yep.
So if it's grown, if it's something that comes from nature, correct, then just like marijuana or CBD or hemp, there's got to be some kind of healthful benefit to it if it's natural, right? So that's kind of where I'm going with. But there's any number of different commercials out there that I just saw one the other day. It was a black woman standing there and saying that that the big tobacco targets the black community. So not only are they trying to get black people to stop smoking for whatever reason, we know that obviously people should not smoke, but at the same time, they're doing the divide and conquer,
Well, you see, they first got them hooked on tobacco, and now they're saying quit. And why would that be?
Right.
Because the alkaloids, the nicotine in tobacco, and what was the other one I was going to bring up? Oh, my God, my mind just went blank. The caffeine in coffee.
Okay.
Those
okay,
alkaloids...
but
Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. I remember you saying something about with caffeine and coffee that it actually destroys DNA, that it...
That's funny. Pure caffeine will unzipper DNA. They use it in the lab to split DNA open. Now, and see, here's the beautiful thing about scientific papers. You can find one scientific paper that says, you need to drink coffee because it'll repair your DNA. And another scientific paper goes, run the hell away. So
right,
pick what you want about it. But see, coffee, if you understood its origins, and I write about this in a couple of my books, it was a drink that was brewed specifically by Muslim black magic priests. And most people think, black magic, it's probably more linked to like the Hebrews and the Kabbalah and, the evil dark forces. Well, the children of Hagar were half brothers of the children of Sarai. So, Abraham, he was a black magic's lineage priest. His father was a fashioner of gods. These people have deep, dark paths that the surface read of the Bible, you're going to miss it because you're only listening to what the preacher is telling you. Read the Bible, okay? These were black magic priests, and their entire lineage then follows these traditions. Coffee came as a sacred brew made by black magic priests, and the whole world is drinking it now? Boy, that should give you like the shivers that we're talking about. And everybody's smoking.
Yeah, it's very...
Why is everybody smoking?
Right.
And so when we look at it and we look at the toxic alkaloids there, they have specific effects. And one of the things that they do is what Samuel Hahnemann, the guy that invented homeopathy, he calls it suppression. So apparently, these tales of spontaneous human combustion may be just a physics trick, because the mafia found that if you dose or douse a human body on a bed with gasoline, and then you light it, and you immediately put a wet blanket over the top, that body will smolder under the wet blanket until it is reduced to ash. I never tried it. I've always wanted to see. Gee, I read it. I might have even read it in like Reader's Digest, for God's sakes. I read about it and I thought that's worth an experiment. But
yeah, absolutely. Who's gonna be the test subject?
Yeah, well,
we could use you could use any corpse, right?
Use roadkill. We could be green and sustainable about it.
Right.
The whole concept is this, though, that in Hahnemann's principles of suppression of disease, what you have done, taking the nicotine and caffeine, is you have suppressed like this otherwise raging fire with something that you cover it up with daily. And so the minute that you quit I'm going to quit drinking coffee for my health. Oh, I'm going to quit cigarettes for my health. You've just suppressed like 50 years of disease in your body and let it fester. And then you're going to take the fucking blanket off. I have seen people after the age of 50 do things like that for health, and their health was destroyed within months because they had suppressed the underlying disease for 50 years. And that, my friend, is why they're telling people, oh, no, you got to quit. They want more holocausts, and a holocaust means burnt offering. They want people to get sick because they knew the whole time. And what I'm trying to say, Shali, is the Muslims go back to like 580 A.D. The proto Islamic Muslims go back, even farther. But at least, after Muhammad, 500 A.D., they were messing with the coffee bean, man. 500 A.D. They knew what the fuck was going on. And everybody on the planet drinks coffee? Come on. That's a fucking military assault.
Yeah, there's something. Starbucks. Look at Starbucks, what we know.
Standing armies, man. It's us against them, and we know when a war has been declared.
Yeah, it's true. But hey, as long as there's football and baseball and all the other sports and things to neutralize the male population and reproductive rights that are being supposedly taken away from the female gender and all these other things that they've used to divide and conquer not only whites, blacks, and minorities. Women get paid less than men, and then so it's just an absolute. I mean,
and is that Ollie? Because come on, man, I was living in California in the '80s, and I was thinking of shaving my legs and growing my hair long just to be what was called an executive secretary. They were making 3 times the salary that I was. Women make less than men. Well, maybe.
Well, it's with all of the factors, and they've gone, and not just Fox News, for God's sake, but a lot of the research that has been done, it kind of, it's not like it's being done like maliciously. It's just women they're just different from men. For God's sake, we're from one planet and they're from another, right? So why would things kind of add up in the way that basically it's just working in favor of the people that are upset that Hillary didn't
thank you.
Get the nomination.
Nice. And I got nothing against women being paid with their worth. I wrote a book called Ease Ill that's all about women changing the world. So I'm not misogynist. I'm not sexist.
Yeah, they can revolutionize things if they just understand that there is an absolute war, not on just humanity, but on them, because it's more important that the system have a war on the female, because if you can destroy the female, then you just destroy everything else.
That's the Jesuit way. The way into the family is through the mother. That's a Jesuit principle. And my point, my contention is this: why are you looking for equality in wages? Because when you're like somebody like me on the periphery, what Clint calls franchise, you realize that when you have a job, when you're working for the man, you're working for the hive. So you are advancing the hive's interest. So why are you seeking that high-powered job that does nothing but serve the hive? Why aren't you looking for a quiet couple acres where you can depart from society, grow your own food, and then you don't have to fucking worry whether or not your wages are equitable?
Right. Well, unfortunately, we've been given the example of what success is, and success, unfortunately, means that you become a doctor or a lawyer, or, all the things that, and from somebody who's read the Bible 3 times from beginning to end, which I myself have never done.
I don't recommend it.
There is the whole flattering titles thing.
Right.
That seems to get completely overlooked by the clergy. Gee, are we? We were told not to respect flattering titles. Why are we kissing the Pope's ass? Why am I a cardinal? Why am I this? Why am I that? Because the system is anti-Christ, it's anti-Bible, and it's just used to really large scale. It's used to destroy society, but at the same time, if it's read the proper way, if it's interpreted the way that it's supposed to be interpreted, then you can understand that the whole system is goes against what it says or it writes. So
don't be so harsh on the Romish church, because the protest ants, the Protestants, they arose from Martin Luther, who was a Catholic priest that was abusing himself. This is one of my favorite stories, because you and I had just opened up little topics of martial arts. The monks within Catholic orders would self-flagellate, meaning they'd whip themselves, and then they'd go outside and they'd throw themselves in a bank of snow. Well, there was a time that Martin Luther, for self-penance, was beating the holy hell out of himself and tossing himself in a snowbank, and he got so ill he goes, "Why the fuck am I doing this?" And so he created his own protesting Protestant religion that was against Catholics, and he had really great pamphlets where guys were bent over, spreading their ass cheeks and farting at the Pope. You really gotta love Martin Luther's, original, real stuff that they suppressed back in those days. So basically, a Catholic. Is
it possible, Patrick? Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'll pose the question after you're done there.
Okay. No, go ahead.
Is it possible that the whole Protestant, just uprising was just a possibly another way to create, a bad situation so that they can get more power and say, hey, listen, if you plan on doing this, like say they hired, Martin Luther to say, all the things that he did. I'm just reaching out there. If there's any way we can know, I don't know that that's even possible. But what I'm saying is it possible that the Protestant movement or the protest against the Catholic Church was a ruse to create some other societal engineered outcome?
Divide and rule is the Roman way. So let's look at it from a Seinfeld point of view. What does Starbucks sell? Well, you can get your mocha frappe, you can get your hazelnut, you can get your cocoa mint, you can get your this. You can get 50 different cups of coffee. Okay? That's all they sell is coffee. So what is a Protestant? A Protestant is like a Catholic that isn't. It's still the same bug-infected religion. It just has a different name. So it's divide and rule. Now, you got a choice. You can either be a Catholic or you can be a Protestant. Well, it's the same damn thing, and this is what I call the same pig, different lipstick.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you talk about divide and rule, that is the best way to do it, because, see, when you take an animal to the slaughterhouse, you offload them from a truck into a corral. The corral is round. It's got the inlet port to get the animals off the truck. You close that gate, and then you got the outlet port where they can go in either direction. Because animals like to go in circles. They can either circle to the left or circle to the right, but there's only one way out, and it's to death. And when you understand these herd handling concepts that have been used for 6,000 years, you realize, oh my God, humanity is caught in that trap. You can have any religion you want just as long as it's ours. Protestant, Catholic, it doesn't matter. Oh, wait, because it said that Terah, and I call him the first terrorist, Terah was the father of Abram. Terah was a fashioner of gods. That means he made gods. It's like, fertility god? She's over there on up. Yeah, on third shelf. She's in the corner. Oh, wait, you need a god for rain. I'm out, but if you come back tomorrow, I'll make you one. So this family of fashioners of gods gave you any color you want just as long as it's black. And so you've got, and see, Abram had 3 wives. Sarai was the first. She was barren, so he took Hagar, who was actually, they called her a slave girl, but she was actually an Egyptian princess, a get the hell out of Egypt free gift. It's like, here, take my daughter, get the hell out of here. So Abram had sex with Hagar and had Ishmael first. And that's why the Muslims hate the Jews, because the firstborn is the one that's supposed to be the inheritor. But because she was not his first wife, and then Sarai had Yitzhak, then they said, okay, well, this is the true son. He's going to get everything. So Abram sent Hagar and Ishmael out in the desert to fucking die. Do you really think, after I told you this story that comes straight out of the Bible, that there would not be this worldwide forever hate between the Muslims and the Jews? Good God, he sent them out into the desert to fucking die. That's straight out of the Bible. So there's your Jew on Arab or Arab on Jew hate. And then Abram had a third wife. From what? The third clan of Noah. So Ham, Shem, and Japheth. He married into all 3 lines, and those became the Trogs, the Neanderthals, the shadow government that everybody talks about, but nobody knows who the hell they are. And I had a point to this, but I can't remember what it is now. You need all this story just to get to, the thing that you're going to say. What were you talking about earlier? I need to.
I was saying that, is it possible that the Protestant uprising was just a manipulation to divide people?
A psyop. And what it is? Okay, well, let's look at it from my perspective. And this was my point. So I said you can have any god you want, any color god you want, just as long as it's black. Because these were black magi. They were from Chaldea. That's black magic central. So Terah, Abram, they were black magic's priests, and they were inventors of God. What did they invent? Abram had 3 wives. He gave you 3 religions. You can have Judaism, you can have Islam, and you can have Christianity, because it came from the 3 clans. And then you get into this compartmentalization, this division of, well, there's Orthodox Jews, and then there's, non-Orthodox Jews. There's like radical Muslims, and there's not radical Muslims. There's Catholics, and there's Protestants. And what that is, that's a fractalization of it. So, and this is the glamour. This is what draws everybody in. It's like when you look at a fractal design, it goes on infinitely, and the colors change, and the patterns become exciting, and it's like, ooh, I want to be the Baha'i religion, because it's not this, it's this instead. And it's like, no, it's still the same fucking pig.
Yeah. It's just a mutation, I guess.
And so the psyop is to divide and conquer. You can have any god you want just as long as it's the one that we give you.
And at the same time,
what it is it keeps people off of what I just said, that there is a central control. It's like the don't look at the man behind the curtain thing. That's exactly Wizard of Oz. My God, that was like an occult documentary. No attention to the God behind the curtain.
Right.
Look over here.
Yeah, it's
Start
making
your own religion. I did. I started the religion of mechanism.
Right. It's making more sense now that power wants to always stay in power.
Yes.
So if they take too much power, then
you got it.
They will be overthrown. So you have to fractalize, meaning let's break into the Protestants. Let's create this movement, this fake movement like feminism.
Right.
Not in the same category, but the same with the same kind of the same outcome.
Right.
Where you break things. You make it look like you're losing power.
Right.
When actually you're just creating a monopoly like IBM. And I say this all the time because I deal with computers and things like that.
Sure. Yeah.
And I sent you an email, by the way, a couple yesterday saying, if you ever need any, technical support or anything, it's on the house.
Thank you.
So I say that IBM, I was about to say Obama, OBM, they, because they were under the threat of looking like a monopoly and getting so much, taking on too much of the computerized cyber role that they split and they created Microsoft so that they could appear that they were separate. But and I don't know what the status is today, but obviously Microsoft is a software monopoly. There is no doubt about that.
Right. And see, you got it in one. Ferdinand Lundberg in 1968 wrote the book The Rich and the Super Rich, and he outlined exquisitely exactly what you said. The supposed divestiture is nothing but a subsidiary corporation of the parent, and the parent still has control, and it still enjoys the revenue of the subsidiaries.
Right, because all of these denominations, all the money goes to Rome.
Every new religion is just a subsidiary corporation of the one that preceded it. And that's so beautiful. I love talking with people like you, Shali, because you get it.
Likewise.
And these are the master templates. Once you see the gingerbread man, it's stamped out in all of the dough. You can't miss the gingerbread man anymore.
Well, I mean, you had the gingerbread man and then the muffin man, right? I'm kidding. So Jules wanted to know about the plasmids, and this goes back to, I think, something that you were talking about the creation of it's like a militarized creation in this third level bio weapon. The plasmids, and I know we're jumping from zoink, but we got about 21 minutes left.
Okay.
Can you touch on plasmids? And at some point, I would really like to, I don't know if Jules has had you on her morning program, but Jules is just absolutely, she wraps her mind around these nightmarish things. She's like one of your red hens, and you should totally communicate with her. Jules, communicate with Patrick. She does an hour, every morning. So I know that you guys would have just incredible conversations. She's very interested in the plasmids.
Okay, let's do this from the foundation up. My theory of evil was based on a very simple premise. Something that always fascinated me were bacteriophages. That means bacteria eater. That means it was a virus that infects a bacteria that either turns it toxigenic, which means it produces poison, or lyses it. Lyse means to split. It would kill it outright. So when you look at like the biochemistry, the biophysics of this, when the virus infects the bacteria, it goes in and it literally changes the DNA of the bacteria. Bacteria, and I believe that the viri themselves have codes that can be turned into circles. A circular strand of DNA is called a plasmid. And the problem with something like that is it's highly infectious. And so what I just described to you was, a very short synopsized view of a form of what was called molecular biology that was invented, so to speak. When they looked into bacteriophages, they invented like the branch of molecular biology based on these principles in the 1930s. And then they said, hey, this is cool. It's like a tool. Let's use it. And we have been the victims of this plasmid-based genetic reorganization ever since, because then as time progressed, they got to the point where you could actually sequence nucleic acids with machines on a tabletop. So you could be in a laboratory, you set up your, thousands of dollars worth of machinery, and you could sequence a DNA strand, custom made. You could make plasmids. If you then distribute those plasmids, they're like, it's hard to they aren't viruses per se, but they are the codes that viruses use to get in and just literally slip in. I mean, it's so, it's like nature's solvent, for God's sakes. They just slip into place as if, they were irresistible. And so when I look at something like that, okay, maybe in nature the bacteriophages did this to bacteria. But when man, the evil man gets a hold of it and they start pissing with it, it goes from natural processes to a weapon. It's always a weapon. And so when I hear the word plasmid, I only think weapon.
Right. And what is, I know that CRISPR.
Oh,
touch on CRISPR.
Gotta love me some CRISPR. Okay. So again, and Clint and I did like some of the most significant radio. One of them is on yogurt, and it brought in the fact that DuPont actually is a monopoly that dominates 50% of the dairy industry, including yogurt. And what they had was a phage library. And what that means is they had all these selections of viruses that did different things to different bacteria because they wanted to control, well, they said they wanted to control the processes of their, like, yogurt formation, because it only takes, like, a few phages. Think about that. A few phages that replicate like mad inside, like, a 50-ton vat of yogurt to completely ruin the batch. And so under the guise of wanting control over an industrial product that they called food, they had the phage library, and they tried to invent cultures that they could then pre-inoculate their industrial process with, so that the yogurt would come out the way that they wanted it, instead of nature taking over and really fucking up the works. And so from that, from the DuPont, which started out as a weapons company, it was a munitions company. Here we are back to the planetary military again. DuPont, a weapons company that got into paint, that got into yogurt, developed the phage library that then led to the discovery of a enzyme that can splice anything you want into any DNA sequence. And so it's like, CRISPR came from a munitions company that was dabbling in yogurt that can now rewrite all life forms on the planet. Good God, that sounds like a goddamn weapon to me.
Mm-hmm. If you, anyone out there listening, I'm talking with Patrick Jordan from vaccinefraud.com. If you go to YouTube, the same thing. If you just do a search vaccine fraud, one word, you'll see his 39 and growing video accumulation up there with just some fascinating stuff. And Patrick, as you can tell, he's very. I mean, you entertain me. I entertain other people. So I read your emails and it's like, wow, look at that. He misspelled that word on purpose, but it just like, you're just really good. I mean, and you've got 15, correct me if I'm wrong, somewhere in the teens there, of books that you can find over at Vaccine Fraud. Eve's Ill was one of them. The Prion Agenda is another one. I have that. Continuum was the follow-up to Prion Agenda, I believe.
Yes.
And so if you sign up for Patrick's emails, you'll get these incredible articles and, of course, his Jordanisms. Here's one of the beginning of one of Patrick's emails. Hey, comrades, Chairman Mo provided this feast of goat's milk for us to digest. The key feature here is that they claim that these conditions were all intensive husbandry that started from the start is never a good thing. So that was just March 9th that you sent that email out. And then it goes through all of this stuff. And I believe that there's cultures there. You were talking about Corynebacterium and thrombosis, that apparently this particular bacteria or something.
That particular genus of bacteria is what appears in humans as diphtheria. Different species appear in goats and was causing problems. And what I was trying to highlight is, well, yeah, if you raise goats in extreme numbers, just like people, the more you pack into one spot and they're all crapping where they eat, of course they're going to get sick.
Mm-hmm.
And there was more to that, a lot more detail to that email that I bring out to highlight different things that are missed in even like scientific papers, because they're pandering to their funders and they will always promote an outcome, and it's like, man, they missed the main point. And so when I Jordanize something, it's like, okay, this is what they were saying, but this is actually what it really means.
Right.
And by the way, Chairman Mo, everybody has a screen name. So that was just something that was given to a list member that does some pretty high-level contributions.
Right. So go to vaccinefraud.com, sign up for Patrick's email distribution list, and you'll just get a plethora. And in addition to what we've talked about today, there's so much information on almost every topic that
it's all one topic.
You can imagine.
Ollie.
It's all one topic.
Thing. It doesn't matter what you're talking about. It all relates back to a central theme. And what we're trying to do collectively is make the world over in our image. Because I don't like the way things are. I don't know about you, man, but I don't like the way things are.
Right. And the good thing is that, win or lose, we have to kind of move in a direction of what we feel is a contribution to, so that we're contributing. I'm sure that there's any number of reasons that people get involved in these types of movements, I guess you could, say. Patrick, you're I remember you saying that your mother had, kidney failure as a result of serum sickness.
Mm-hmm.
And so watching his mother just kind of live the rest of her life out in that particular state. I watched both my parents within a week of each other die from not only a brain tumor but esophageal cancer. So I always truly felt that I was, on some kind of journey. I didn't never want to feel as though my time here. I don't want to think that what we're doing here is some kind of accident, and I think that's what when they talk about the Big Bang, they really just want to tell us that we just kind of came from some kind of space ooze or something like that. I think that we're obviously much more than what we've been told that we are. And I feel as though every step that I've taken has brought me to the people that have had the most profound effect on me. Like, meeting Greg when I was with Oracle Broadcasting, and then him say to me, this guy, Clint Richardson's, he's really making a lot of sense. You got to tune into this guy. He's making a lot of sense. And then from there, Patrick Jordan. And then here today, really truly blessed to be on with Patrick today, having the conversations that today that we're having and the conversations that we've had in the past. And so, it's so fantastical. Again, people cannot even begin to even want to recognize that these things are going on. And are those that do not know that it's happening, are they in a better place than we are? I struggle with that sometime because
ignorance is bliss. I just believe that this is a steak when I put it in my mouth. It's Cypher from the Matrix, man.
Cypher, exactly.
Thanks for having me on, Shali. I really appreciate you having me on, and I really enjoy talking with people that are intelligent. That's high compliment, high praise towards you.
I really appreciate that.
Now, Shali, let's bring it to the religious crowd, because they actually dominate. 80% of the world believes in God. 80%. So let's bring it to them. Do you really want to be at the judgment and stand before, whatever, and say, oh, yeah, I work for a defense contractor, and we made munitions that killed innocent children in third world countries? Because there's just all this bullshit about, we are co-creators of our reality. Well, if that's true, what are you doing? What are you doing, man? If the world should be made in our image instead of theirs, what are you doing?
Yeah, we've just been turned into antichrists by other antichrists.
Oh, I like it.
We've been assimilated by saying that this is what we have to do. This is what we've, and a lot of people just think that it's just, the war on terror, and now the world, the world economy. I mean, it's always kind of been driven by degenerative disease, which they've created a whole heck of a lot of. But at the same time, they've created a security state. I mean, one commercial that's been on, there's this guy, there's a computer there, and you can hear him say, obviously he's some kind of cyber terrorist, this voice, and he's saying, I can hack into anybody's email anytime I want, any level of organization, and next thing you know, it switches over to like the military I don't know whether it's the Marines or Navy or something like that, and it said, "We're equipped to take care of scumbags like this." And then boom,
we engineered the back doors into all computers already. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, everything. Everything. If you look at things like Flash Player, I don't know what.
I got it turned off, man. Yeah.
Did you turn it off? Okay, because there's a lot of websites that don't work without Flash. There's a lot of websites that don't work without Java script. But these are the manipulating creations that allow the open doors to be able to get things like Stuxnet, where Israel and America created this virus to be able to go in, and because all of these particular automated microchips have all been created from the same technology, they can create a virus that can go in there and can control these automations to be able to bring down a nuclear facility.
But see, that has no concern for me, Shali.
Yeah.
That doesn't even affect me. What really concerns me is that when I have an RFID chip in my toaster, they might hack my toaster, man.
Yeah, they'll burn your toast. They'll be like, I put it on 3 for God's sake, and it burned. What's wrong with my toaster? You got to put it on 10. It's opposite day, asshole. You put it on 10, then it'll be undercooked. But so
you gotta laugh at the devil, man.
Yeah, it's and I had a conversation with a nice lady the other day over at the health food store. Hopefully she tuned in today. She was very religious. There was a number of things that she did understand about the nature of what we are dealing with. At the same time, I tried to convey, like, hey, listen, we've been manipulated by these. The Pope, like, why does he even exist? Well, he exists just to control a percentage of the world's Catholics. And why does Israel exist? So that they can control their group of people. And why? And it's just like, it's all about a system of control. And so
the best thing to do, Shali, is to ask a question. Don't proselytize. Don't give people facts, because it turns them off. Just ask that single question and walk away. It's like, well, do you want the best outcome for your child to get autism? Then I would make sure that he got all of his booster shots and circumcised, because 90% of all kids that are circumcised and have their vaccines will get autism. So, make sure that you do that. But phrase it in the form of a question. It's like Jeopardy.
Right. Phrase it in the form of what is it, parables? Clint taught me that. He said, a fool would do this, but a wise man would do this, which was very powerful. Very powerful.
I like it.
Way to approach asking or answering a question, or posing a question.
I'll take the best way to get autism for $500, Alex.
Patrick,
we got circumcision and vaccines.
We got about 30 seconds.
That's not a good way to end it.
I'm going to be in touch with you, my friend, and I appreciate you being on today, as well as the listeners and Jules. Jules, reach out to Patrick. I definitely want Pat, and believe me, I want to hear you guys have a conversation one morning very, very soon.
Cool.
And happy Sunday to everybody. Patrick, have a great rest of your weekend.
Thanks, man.
And I'll be in touch.
Put the MK scope on ya. If the MK hits you, it's guaranteed to open ya. The 57mm Mark 110, 200 120 rounds a minute, try to stop them. Don't put that on your wish list, that's retarded babble. Protesters make the hit list soon as they start to rabble. They are nothing but fishes in the barrel. It doesn't have to be Christmas for a carol. Some decorate with ornamental decorum. Some perform shocking awe on Hanukkah and Purim. That's where my job come in. I am a blessing to the mercenary for the corporation selling weapons to them. Any potential competitor step into them. I'm authorized to knock them out and stick a GPS into them. They want to sell uranium to Iran that's enriched, that's a bitch. Now we gotta teach a lesson to them.